Hey you guys, it's your girl Jessica Marie, and we are back with another reaction video. Today we're going to be looking at 5 modern day serial killers that were never caught and are probably still alive. Now, that's very creepy. Very. And I'm always interested to learn about serial killers because it's just crazy to me that someone could be so violent and evil, and like, what happened to you to make you take that path? Like, I just can't wrap my mind around someone with a mind like that. But let's get into this video and see what they talking about. All right.
There are plenty of serial killers who were never brought to justice. The likes of Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac Killer are probably the most well known.
Yeah.
However, when we think of them, we assume they were in the past, and that with today's scientific advances, most serial killers would be caught quickly. While you'd be wrong, there are still hundreds of unsolved multiple murders supposedly attributed to a single individual, and many of them are very much in our present day.
I agree.
This was a video topic selected by our patrons, and if you would like to vote on upcoming videos, then don't forget to check out our Patreon in the link in the description or in the comment section below. And now, without further ado, here we look at 5 serial killers that are likely still alive but have never been caught. Hit those lights, sit back, and enjoy. Butcher of Mons. Mons in Belgium is probably best known as the location of the Battle of Mons, fought during the First World War. However, it's also the place one of the worst serial killers in Belgium history left some of his victims' remains. Nicknamed the Butcher of Mons, the unknown assailant began his murderous reign around 1995. For 2 years, he carried on killing unchecked, until on March 22nd, 1997, a Mons police officer discovered 8 plastic bags that contained human remains. The bags were discovered along the Rue Emilie van der Voort in the village of Coem, just outside the city. After examination, it was revealed that the bags contained arms and legs belonging to 3 different women. The day after the find, another bag was found in the same area that contained a woman's torso, and on March 24th, a 10th bag was discovered, containing the bust of a woman, this time on the path of concern in Mons. Further analysis of the remains revealed that the murders stretched back to at least 1995 or 1996.
Wow.
But the torso found on March 24th belonged to a victim who had been killed mere days before the discovery. Analysis of the bags revealed that at least 5 of them originated from the municipality of Knockheist, a seaside resort on the Belgian coast, over an hour-and-a-half drive from Mons. On April 12th, 2 more bags were found. These bags contained 1 foot, 1 leg and a head. All 10 bags also contained brightly coloured underwear. The systematic mutilation of the bodies made their identification difficult, although eventually they were all named. The youngest victim was 21 and the eldest 43. All the victims had in common was that they frequented the area of Mons railway station, and all were plagued by destitute or family issues. Belgian authorities were convinced they were the work of the same person, and believed they had a serial killer on their hands. The police also pointed out that there seemed to be a macabre pattern to where they dumped the body parts. For instance, Dump Street, the Path of Worry, the River Hate, and Jitters. They also theorized that the killer may have had some kind of medical training, because each victim had been dismembered and mutilated with such precision. It was also deduced that the killer had a steady job based on the fact that all of his victims were murdered on weekends. During the investigation, which is still ongoing, several people were suspected of being involved in these murders, but no concrete evidence was found against them. To this day, the murders remain unsolved, and if they are still alive, the Butcher of Mons is still at large.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Just
Flat Tire Murders. The case, dubbed the Flat Tire Murders, linked 5 victims to a single perpetrator in Dade County, Florida in 1975. All the murders took place in the vicinity of Cutler Bay, known at the time of the killings as Cutler Ridge, and the Palmetto area of South Miami-Dade County. Investigators concluded that the killer deflated the tires of women's vehicles and then offered them assistance before killing them. His victims included 5 women from South Florida: Ronnie Gorlin, Elise Knapp, Barbara Stevens, Barbara Schreiber, and Belinda Zetro. When Ronnie Gorlin and Elise Knapp were murdered in July 1975, investigators were convinced there was a connection between the killings. Years later, in August 2011, the assistant medical examiner of Dade County also connected the other 3 cases to the same killer. It was theorized that the suspect acted alone, moved from coast to coast, and was probably responsible for many more unsolved homicides carried out in similar circumstances. Investigators believe the killer is likely very intelligent, with an above-average IQ and strength. His method of killing so far has been a combination of shooting, stabbing with an ice pick, and blunt force trauma with hammer blows, with such force that 3 of the victims could not immediately be identified due to severe disfigurement. To date, no suspects have been interviewed, and no one has been apprehended, and it's very likely that the Flat Tire murderer is still alive and could still be killing people across America. The Chicago Strangler. Chicago has always had a shady criminal past due to its ties to the mob, in particular Al Capone and Bugs Moore. It was also the home of America's very first serial killer, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, to whom of which we have done a Murderous Minds documentary over on Patreon, which you can check out by clicking the link in the description or in the comment section below, where you'll get access to all of our Murderous Minds documentaries and other documentaries for just $2 per month. However, the city could have another serial killer on the loose, whose terrifying reign of terror is only just beginning to unfold. For the past 2 decades, Chicago has seen a series of eerily similar strangulation murders. The first victim was found in 2001, and since then other bodies have turned up in empty lots, vacant buildings, dark alleys, and even garbage containers. The victims have all been women between the ages of 18 and 58, and many of them struggle with drugs or prostitution, making them particularly vulnerable to predators on the street. In total, there are an astonishing 51 unsolved murders that all follow a similar pattern. The victims have been found in 3 specific areas of Chicago: the west side, the south side, and the far south side. However, despite striking similarities in the way the women were killed and dumped, it wasn't until 2018, when the latest victim was found, that investigators considered the possibility that one perpetrator was responsible. An interesting detail about the serial killer theory is that from 2001 to 2014, the murders occurred frequently. Then between 2014 to 2017, they abruptly stopped, suggesting the killer was in jail during this period, and since their release has picked up where he or she left off. Chicago police are quite coy about the serial killer being at large in the city, and instead told the media in 2019 that there might actually be several serial killers operating in the city, although the chances of several different serial killers using the same modus operandi would be extremely rare. With a case like this, you would expect it to make headline news. However, sadly, there have been few news stories, and even fewer memorials or other public gestures that would have focused attention on these poor, unfortunate women and how they died. The Long Island Serial Killer, New York State. The Long Island Serial Killer, also known as LISK, or the Craigslist Ripper, is an unidentified suspected serial killer who is believed to be responsible for at least 10 murders over a 20-year period. The remains of 4 victims were found in December 2010, while 6 more sets of remains were found in March and April 2011. The bones and body parts were discovered when a police officer and his dog were on a routine training exercise when they stumbled across the skeletal remains of a woman in a nearly disintegrated burlap sack. This discovery led to a search, and 3 more bodies were found 2 days later in the same area, on the north side of the Ocean Parkway.
course.
A few months later, in the spring of 2011, 4 more bodies were discovered in another area off the parkway, near Oak Beach and Jilgo Beach.
Insane.
Police then widened the search up to the Nassau County border, and a few days later another set of partial human remains were found, as well as a separate skull and 2 human teeth. Pathology reports stated that they were the remains of 10 people, 8 females, 1 male victim dressed as a woman, and a toddler daughter of one of the females.
Oh my God.
Torsos and other parts of some of the bodies were found in different locations, although some bits have never been discovered. 6 of the women have been identified, 1 only recently with the help of DNA analysis. The other 4, including the toddler and his mother, still have not been identified. Police reported that all of the victims appeared to be prostitutes who advertised their services on Craigslist. Initially, police worked on the assumption that there might be 2 killers. However, in November 2011, they stated their belief that 1 person is responsible for all 10 deaths. The single killer theory was linked to common characteristics among the condition and forensic evidence related to the bodies. To date, there has only been 1 suspect, a carpenter from Long Island named John Bitloff, who was convicted in May 2017 and sentenced in September for the homicides of 2 prostitutes in 1993 and 1994. It's thought he is a suspect in at least one of these murders, although no charges have been brought against him. It was announced in June 2019 that the use of genetic genealogy might be used to identify the unidentified victims and possibly the killer. Although to date there are no further updates, and as far as we can tell, the Long Island killer is still at large and is responsible for far more murders than the 10 we've mentioned.
My.
Possible UK serial killer targeting elderly couples. Now this is a new case. It comes after a report was published linking 2 unsolved historical murder cases of 2 elderly couples who died in similar circumstances in the 1990s. Both couples lived in the Cheshire area of England. The 2 cases re-examined were Howard and Beatrice Ainsworth and Donald and Oriel Ward. Mr. Ainsworth, 79, and Mrs. Ainsworth, 78, were found dead by police in 1996. Mrs. Ainsworth was found with a knife in her forehead and had her face hit repeatedly with a hammer and was partially covered by a pillow. Mr. Ainsworth had a bag tied around his head.
Oh my God.
At the gruesome scene, police found a suicide note, seemingly written by Mr. Ainsworth, leading to the coroner and officers agreeing the case was a murder-suicide. 3 years later in 1999, a similar case took place when Mr. and Mrs. Ward were found dead in their homes after an apparent murder-suicide. Mrs. Ward was found bludgeoned, stabbed and suffocated, similar to Mrs. Ainsworth, whereas Mr. Ward was found with a knife in his heart. In both cases, police found no evidence of violence in the couple's relationships and suggested the cases were moments of madness. However, a senior coroner's officer did not accept this official explanation and kept the case files in a special interest folder. Many years later, Stephanie Davis, the current senior coroner's office for Cheshire, reviewed the original files and used modern crime science. The officer discovered 2 more nearby cases, plus 1 in Cumbria. All 3 cases fit the pattern of violence seen in the Cheshire murder-suicides, and the officer thinks there are enough similarities to link them to the same serial killer. Davis also enlisted the help of Steve Chancellor, one of America's top cold case police forensic investigators, who also suggested that both of the 1990s cases were likely double murders. He claimed vital evidence had been missed by the Cheshire officers at the scene, and he agreed with Miss Davis that the same offender was involved in both cases was a very real possibility. In her 2020 report, Davis has urged the National Crime Agency and Interpol to urgently review cases across Britain to see if there are any more similar cases. She is concerned that there is an outstanding offender who could still be offending and who needs to be brought to justice, and there is a real possibility that there is a serial killer at large in the UK. So that's 5 serial killers who have never been caught. A big thank you to the Patreons who selected the topic for this video. We hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.
Okay. Oh my God. That is just so scary and so terrifying that more than likely these people, these men, are still out there and they're probably still killing. I will say right now, for a few years now, what's been going on in the country has taken, it has become more important than these serial killers. So we're more focused on what's going on with women's rights, what's going on with LGBTQ, what's going on with re-election with Trump and Biden, and just all of that chaos, while there's people like this running around killing folk. And to me, that's crazy. I would think this is more important than really any of those matters, to be honest. But unfortunately, that's just the society we live in right now. But I want to say this to all of my young ladies or older ladies, because as you saw, these serial killers don't always care about your age, or if you're a man or a woman, or a child. For my ladies out there, you might want to rethink trying to be a thought. You may want to rethink trying to get that bag. You may want to rethink trying to figure out a way to use a man for his money. Okay? Because when you walk around with that mindset and that view of the world, and you're going to conduct yourself like a Cardi B, you can be on a serial killer's hit list. Okay? I'm very serious. It is the grace of God that Cardi B wasn't permanently damaged or killed while living the lifestyle that she lived. Now she has money, and the likeliness of her being in certain situations like that is a lot, less likely now, because she has money and she isn't in the streets like that. But anyone could be taken out. There's been celebrities that have been killed. Okay? So, especially to my younger audience that are kind of naive and they think that life is a game and they think that they can walk around acting like Cardi B. I mean, women are getting kidnapped all the time. Okay? Sex trafficking is happening. And it's happening a lot to black women. So for you young ladies out there that think it's okay to be, you saw that guy slicing up people's tires and then acting like he wanted to help you. Okay? And there's a lot of, and he only named 5. Okay? So you have to really be careful out there. And men, be careful, but when it comes to men, there's not as many serial killers killing men as often, because men typically can defend themselves. Okay? Not all the time, because men can get killed, but more likely their targets are soft targets. Women, children, maybe elderly, disabled. Okay? So as women, we cannot be walking around here thinking that we can be trying to get the bag, being a thought, and trying to use a man for his money. You think you might mess with the wrong one. You might be thinking you're using him for some money, trying to be fast, trying to be a stripper, trying to be a hoe, and that might be your last client. To me, that's not worth it at all. So I just would say, young ladies in particular, but all women and men, be careful when you're out there. Stay vigilant. Don't be so quick to trust people, and don't be so quick to run off at the mouth. Use discernment. I don't care if someone, please think about what you're doing every day. Think about and observe who's around you every day. Because in the society we live in today, people care less and less about you. You see it in social media all the time. People are caring less and less about human life, about anything that's going on with you. They don't care. They just want to be entertained. Everybody just wants to be entertained, and sometimes entertainment can come at your expense. Maybe the loss of your life. And as you see, the government and the states that some of these murderers or serial killers have been committing their crimes, at least when it comes to the United States, they're not even talking about it. So if someone decides to take you out, more than likely the country's going to be too busy to worry about your death. Okay, if they even mention your death. But if they do, don't think they're going to be beating down doors and searching high and low for the killer. Because right now, our country is in a position of very selfishness. A high level of selfishness is what's going on in this country. So I just want to say that, because that just made me think about that when I think about women out there today dressing provocatively, acting very promiscuous, acting just like a prostitute pretty much. And they think it's okay and cute because they see certain celebrities on TV doing it, and they think that's okay. They think, well, that's what it is. But you don't have the money these celebrities have to stay guarded and protected from the realities of that behavior. So, other than that, you guys, I enjoyed this video. It was very educational. I like to stay well educated on situations like this. So, please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you guys thought of this video. And like always, and definitely when it comes to situations like this, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you in the next one.